Once again, thank you everyone for joining us for our first ever Fall Freebies seminar. We don't typically do promotions, but we're trying something new here at Practice Perfect. Today, we're going to be covering a few different topics, but as ever, we want to start with some housekeeping. So you may have noticed the microphones have been muted, webcams have been disabled as well, but you're welcome to type any questions that you have in the chat over the course of this seminar. The presentation should run for approximately 45 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter. We might be able to give you some time back at the end, but there is going to be a Q&A towards the end as well, where we can address any other questions that come up over the course of the session. We have a couple helpers in the chat. We've got Heather, we've got Carrie, we've even got Mary. We've got a bunch of Practice Perfect folks here to answer your questions. So please feel free to type them in the chat. And you may have heard the little robot voice tell you that this is being recorded. So we're going to upload it to our YouTube channel afterwards, and we'll make sure you all get emailed a copy of it too. So if you wanted to watch any of this back or share it with one of your colleagues who couldn't make it, by all means. So in terms of the agenda, we're going to be covering some of our most popular plugins, integrations, services. We're starting with the cloud hosting. Steve's going to explain to us how that works and some of the benefits of it. We're also going to look at automated texting and voice calls by wired client. This is our automated messaging system. Some of you may be on it already. If you aren't, now's a great time to test it out too, because with this fall freebies, we're giving all these services away until January 1st, 2027. The last integration we're going to be talking about is inbound and outbound faxing. So we started by just offering the outbound faxing. In recent years, we've offered inbound faxing as well. So we'll do a demonstration of how that works, show you what it looks like, and go from there. But to start, I'm going to pass it over to Steve, and he's going to tell us a little bit about our cloud hosting services.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for joining us once again for one of our seminars. So I want to talk a bit about cloud hosting. Some of you, or a good number of you, probably already leveraging this and using this, but there are many that aren't, and I do get concerned about that because of some of the exposure you have by actually hosting your own data. So I want to talk a bit about. We're going to talk about what cloud hosting is exactly, and some of the benefits of it, and why you might want to entertain using it. It's certainly not mandatory. And again, as Matt was mentioning, anything we're doing during the seminar today is at no cost until January 1st. So if there is interest, you actually get to do these things, try them out for the next 3-4 months with absolutely no risk, and then undo it if you don't think it's worthwhile. So first thing, what is cloud hosting? So again, I haven't looked at the makeup of the attendees and who's hosting already and who isn't, but cloud hosting is basically where we have your data and you don't have to have it on your own servers anymore. So many of you still have your own kind of either main computers or servers, whatever you want to call them, within the walls of the clinic, and your data, your Practice Perfect data, is stored locally in the clinic on your own, again, server or computer. We have a service whereby we can take that over. The data can be stored by us. So nothing changes at the clinic level. You still have Practice Perfect installed on your computers or your web, or you can use it, but your data is no longer at the clinic. The data is stored with us, which means you're not worried about a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about here. It just makes life easier. So that's what cloud hosting is. It's basically our servers hosting your data, you no longer having to worry about any of that goes with the problem of hosting your own data. So first of all, why would you want to do this? What are the upsides? Well, security is probably number one. Actually, backups are probably number one, but security is right up there as well. Our servers are all North American based. They're in things called SOC2 certified facilities. What that means, SOC2 is sort of an accreditation that these server companies have to go through. The server farms are all very secure, biometric entry. Not anybody can get in there. They're all locked down. No one can kind of walk in and steal a server, nothing like that. You have to go through so many points of entry to even get close to the servers, that sort of thing. The other thing that SOC2 facilities offer is what's called redundancy. They have redundant power. They have redundant internet. For example, there was a big ice storm several years ago. I think it was up in Quebec, and we have some server farms in Montreal, and they continued working. The whole half of the province had no power for 3-4 days. Servers keep working, internet keeps working because of all the redundancy. So you're never going to have this issue of the server being down, the internet being down, the power being down. So security, redundancy are some very, very key things that we look at. For example, not to be a kind of a fear monger, but in your clinic right now, if you're hosting your own data, what stops somebody from breaking into your clinic and stealing that computer? If you have a backup, great, that's fine. You can get up and running again, but someone has now stolen the computer with all of your data on it. If we're hosting, that simply cannot happen. So security is number one. Number two, malware protection. Again, most of you, I'm sure, have antivirus software installed on your computers. This is getting more and more complicated every day. There's more malware out there. There's ransomware. We keep with our servers completely up to date on the latest and the greatest. It's updated on literally a daily basis. And again, those servers are only used for Practice Perfect. No one is surfing the net or downloading email. So the risk of anything happening other than the fact we have all this malware protection on there is very, very limited. There is no surfing, there is no internet, anything going on those servers other than Practice Perfect. So the chances of anything happening are I'd say very, very slim to none. We have never had knock on wood, an issue with any kind of malware, ransomware on any of our servers. Number three, probably the biggest one, is the automated backups. When you're hosting your own data, you are responsible for your own data backups. And we have had some horror stories over the years where a clinic has come to us and said, oh, my server crashed. Here's my backup. Can you get us going again? And their backup is corrupt. They kept doing the same backup over top the backup from yesterday onto a memory key, and it was corrupt. Or it had a virus. Maybe the virus has been on there for 2 or 3 weeks, and we say, oh, do you have a backup from 4 weeks ago? No, I just keep using the same, memory key over and over and over. Maybe I have two or three that were rotating. So we have automated backups on our hosting service every night. 3 redundant backups are done, and we keep basically 6 months of historical backups. So let's say there is some problem, even supporting Practice Perfect, where we have to go back 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, to check something. We can do that. And we've had that happen where someone has gone in and changed something and the clinic wants to go back and see what it was like beforehand. We can go back. We can go back and look at a snapshot from up to, I think, about 6 months, 6 months prior. Our big concern is that most of our clinics that are hosting their own data are not doing appropriate backups. They're not doing redundant backups. They're not doing historical backups. So I would say that's kind of, that and security are kind of number one and number two. Another benefit that's not on here. Oh, simpler support. Sorry, there it is because we have access to your data, support becomes a lot easier. You can call us with a problem, maybe leave a message, send an email. We can look into it without having to get you on the phone and set up remote access. So if you phone us up and say, hey, I'm having a weird problem with this bill on a certain date, we can log in, we can look into it without having to involve you and just basically give you a call once we're done or to discuss the issue with you. So it makes support a lot quicker and a lot simpler. There is a fee for this because we are paying for storage on the servers and we are paying for backup storage. We're charging $75 per month for up to 100 gigabytes of storage. Very, very rare you're over 100 gigabytes. If it's over 100, it's another $30 per month for the second 100 gig. I think we have about maybe eight clinics that go over 100 gig. It's very, very, very rare. And you have to look at your current backup costs. What's your current backup aggravation cost? Do you have an IT company maintaining your server? Hopefully this does pay for itself actually pays for itself, but also the aggravation factor, the security factor, the redundancy factor. So $75 per month to move to the hosted version. Again, no charge till January. The process, if there's interest, you let us know, either one of us in the chat or support. We set up time to do it. We set up remote access. We grab your data, put it on the server, send you an email with instructions. It's a very, very, very simple process. If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. If anybody wants to see Linda, thank you, Linda Zane, best thing ever. But anyone has any questions, throw it in the chat, and we'd be happy to get you on it. And again, the sooner you get onto this, the more money you're saving. If you don't move till January or till December, you're only saving 1 month. If you move now, you got 4 months, 5 months at no charge. And there you have it. Oh, question. I'll answer the question that came in the chat. Sorry. Does cloud hosting allow you to access Practice Perfect from any computer? Does it allow you to work on charting and schedules from home? Yes. You could do that with your desktop application, quite frankly, if you set it up properly, but this does allow you to access Practice Perfect from anywhere and leverage the web version. And there's no extra cost for that beyond the hosting charge as well. So yes, it does allow you to access that from anywhere. On top of that, if you're paying for something, some of you may know what this means. So you might be paying for something called a static IP address, or a no IP domain right now. That goes away. So again, some of you may know what I mean by that. But if you are paying for a fixed or static IP address, that can be dropped if you do move to the hosting service. Any other questions? I can just take a look at it in the chat. Linda, I'm not sure why you're doing your charting while you're on a cruise ship, but I do the same. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Again,
great.
any interest, let support know. Let one of us know in the chat. Happy to get you on board with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting us know about cloud hosting, Steve, and everything that comes with it.
You're welcome.
So with that, I'm going to jump into automated texting by Wired Client. This is probably one of our more popular integrations, and since 2018, we've been offering it. It's completely in-house. All the same staff. Practice Perfect support team supports this. Our training is from Practice Perfect. Our development is also within Practice Perfect, and it's just a separate brand that we're using for this texting service. Essentially, the patients from Practice Perfect and their appointments are uploaded, and the information in your schedule is used to send these automated appointment reminders, welcome messages, fall off messages, and more. They're all completely customizable. Practice Perfect is the main point of entry for it. So you're never re-entering the appointments or those statuses from Practice Perfect into Wired Client. It's just feeding it constantly as you're making those changes in your scheduler. But it can be used for some fun things too. We can also use it for two-way texting. We can use it for clinic-wide announcements, closures, sick days, that sort of thing. We can use it for feedback surveys. We have a lot of clinics using it to get more Google reviews. And we can even use it for things like automated voice calls. So certain populations, they might prefer a voice call rather than a text message. And all of that can be facilitated by Wired Client. So after the slideshow, I'm going to do a screen share with Practice Perfect, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. The other integration we're going to be looking at is our integrated inbound and outbound faxing service. So you're able to fax any document from Practice Perfect, whether it's a progress note, if it's an invoice, a statement, if it's an eval, any custom document, anything that's in the activities by document screen. All of that can be faxed through Practice Perfect. The cover page is created automatically, and the contacts can be chosen from the list of contacts in the client's profile. So be it their family physician, an incident physician, if you've saved anyone like an adjuster or anyone else in their profile, they'll be selectable from the drop-down list, and you can fax it right from there. In the past year or so, we've also began offering inbound faxing, and this allows us to port your existing fax number into our system. So any faxes that you receive at that number, a lot of times they're scanned and they're imported into Practice Perfect manually. It takes a couple steps. You have to, print it on paper, and again, lots of man hours. So what we can do is just bring that into Practice Perfect. It shows up in the pending form section where you can view it and you can assign it to any client records right within the system. But between those two, the outbound and inbound faxing, a lot of clinics have been able to do away with their fax machine altogether. They still get to hold on to their original fax number. They just aren't relying on that fax machine whatsoever. It's all being facilitated through Practice Perfect. So I'll show you what that looks like too. But I'm going to back out of this now, and we will start by going into Practice Perfect, which I've got open here. And I'm going to go to my schedule, and we're going to start with the wired client integration. And I want to show you what some of that setup looks like. Now, there is a training session prior to getting started. The training session also takes about 45 minutes to an hour. It's a running theme here. But essentially, what we would do is go to Settings, Customize Wired Client, and we create an account for you in Wired Client. That provides us with a couple of API keys. We take those API keys, we copy and paste them into Practice Perfect. This connects the two systems to each other. And some of our recent releases, we've added some features here where we can text clients when certain things happen in Practice Perfect. These will aid you in some of your workflows. For example, if you've made a document available in the client portal, you can text a client automatically once it becomes available so that they can log in, they can view it, they could download it for their own records. That happens automatically. You would just have to check off this box here. The other thing we can do here is we can text a client when an appointment is canceled. If for any reason we have to cancel their appointment on the schedule, we mark it as canceled, the patient can get that text automatically. We can also text them automatically when an appointment is booked or changed. So if they're standing at your front desk and they're booking their next appointment before they leave the clinic and they want to get a text right away so that they can just, click the date and time and add it to the calendar in their phone, we can have that text go out to them automatically. Also, if we make any changes to the appointment, if we were to drag it to a different time, whatever the case may be, they can get a text about that appointment update. We've also added some features so that providers can receive messages as well. The communication doesn't just go out to the patients, we can send it to your staff too. And in the housekeeping contacts provider section, I'm going to go into Heather's profile here. We have this tab called Communications. And these are some of the different automated notifications that we can be sending to our providers. For example, we were talking about how clients can receive a text when a document is uploaded. We can also text the provider when a document's been uploaded by the client. If a patient has scheduled an appointment in the client portal, so they haven't actually picked up the phone and spoken to your front desk, they haven't sent you an email, they just logged into the portal and booked their appointment, we can notify the provider about that as well. If a patient has canceled their appointment, we can let the provider know. Maybe they don't need to show up at 9 a.m. today because their 9 a.m. canceled. We can send them that text automatically, letting them know about the change so that they aren't just hanging out at the clinic waiting for someone who isn't coming. And another thing that we had been asked was, is there a way to notify the providers when a client arrives? If they're hanging out in the back of the clinic, if they aren't, constantly sticking their head out, checking at the front waiting area, seeing if the patients arrive, we can have them receive a text message on their personal device when the appointment status is changed from pending to arrived in the scheduler. And again, that will happen automatically too. Now, as far as uploading the patients from Practice Perfect to Wire Client, it's pretty straightforward. The key is we need them to have a mobile number, and we need them to have that mobile number in the other phone field. So as long as that's been entered, we can click this little blue chat bubble, and that's going to upload the patient. Once the patient's been uploaded, we start to see this little blue chat bubble show up right beside their portrait, or in my case, a silhouette. And anytime we book an appointment for a patient, we see there's a little blue chat bubble in that appointment cell. So this is just letting me know that this is one of Matt's pending appointments in the wired client, and we're going to send Matt a reminder for this appointment. Now, one of the other really popular functions with Wired Client is the two-way texting. So if I need to get a hold of this patient prior to the appointment, after the appointment, maybe I want to remind them, okay, we need you to bring XYZ to this appointment. We can actually send them a message that's not automated. So what I would do is, instead of clicking the blue chat bubble that I used to upload the client, I would click this gray chat bubble, and that's going to open up my web browser right to my conversation with Matt. Pretty straightforward. But we'll now take a look at the wired client itself, and we'll show you some of the background settings, how we're able to set up some of those automations, uh, some of the different workflows we have there. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. This is the wired client website itself. Um, Initially, you're logging in here to do some of the setup that we help out with during training, but you don't necessarily have to use this website every day. The place where we do see the most day-to-day use happens to be in the messages screen. That's where you do your two-way texting. But again, that can be launched from within Practice Perfect. But the first thing that I see when I log in is an overview. The overview gives me a quick snapshot of my usage, so I can see how many clients I've uploaded. I can see how many messages I've sent. This is broken down daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. There are limits to the texting. It's 3,000 text message segments per month per office location. We wish we could offer unlimited, but we are billed by the carrier per segment. So if someone's going to be blasting their entire client list every day, it would end up becoming pretty expensive. But 3,000 tends to suffice for the vast majority of users. What another thing we can see here is survey results. So a lot of clinics are using this system to send feedback surveys to our clients. You know, how likely are you to refer the perfect clinic to friends or family on a scale of 0 to 10? And we can set up some auto replies based on those scores as well. We can see some of the results we've gotten all right here. Now, I'm going to show you a few different parts of Wire Client. We'll start in the branches. We have some general office settings here. We'll also take a look at the staff. I'm going to show you some of the different staff types. These control your users' permissions in Wired Client, what they can and can't do. We'll take a really brief look at the client profile as well, just so you can see some of the information that's carried over from Practice Perfect, some of those key dates that we're using to trigger the messages. But then the majority of the work happens here in the schedule section. And again, this is where we set up your workflows. These are the actual text messages that are going to the clients, the actual content of those text messages. If you're doing voice calls, it's the script of those voice calls. It's when the messages are sent, and it's how we group them together. And then I did touch on the day-to-day use happening in the messages screen. So this is where we're going to be going back and forth with the clients. Now, in the branches, a couple things, namely the SMS number. So we are going to assign you a local area code phone number. This is the number from which your messages are sent. When a client replies to this number, it goes back into the wired client. We do also have the ability to host the SMS capabilities of your landline number. So if your clinic is using a landline, and it doesn't have SMS enabled, we can take over just the portion, the SMS portion of the landline. Any voice calls would still come in through the traditional means, but any text messages from your landline can be sent through Wired Client. There is an option for an auto reply too. Whenever someone sends me a text, they can automatically get a response. We can choose what that response says. We can be notified of any incoming messages outside of wired client as well. We can either have those messages forwarded to a personal device or we can have them forwarded to an email address of our choice. And lastly, we have the survey auto replies. So I mentioned we can send feedback surveys. We're asking for folks to rate us on a scale of 0 to 10. And depending on the reply we get, we can send them an auto response. So I see a lot of clinics will use this to get Google reviews. Obviously, they want those Google reviews to be good ones. So they only send the review link to people who reply with a 9 or a 10. But any lower score has a different response, and they're able to customize that per each score. One other feature we have available in the branches is the broadcast. This one's really helpful in the case of any inclement weather, any sick days. We can click broadcast, we can type our message. It was actually spurred on by those many snow days we have here in the Toronto area. And we can put a date range here. And anyone who has a pending appointment within this date range, they'll get this message. If this is just for one particular therapist, I put that therapist name here, and we can say, Michelle is out sick, all to rebook. Now, this is only being sent to Michelle's patients. Now, on the subject of staff, we can create profiles for them. Uploading them from Practice Perfect is pretty straightforward, but we can create profiles for admin in Wired Client directly, so we don't have to create a provider profile just to upload them. We can just press the add button here. The main thing I want to show you here is the staff type. So we do have a couple different staff types. These are going to control the user's permissions in Wired Client. For example, if you want to give your therapist access to Wired Client, but you only want them being able to communicate with their own staff, we would choose user own clients only. If we want our front desk to have access to the system, but we don't want them to play around with the branch settings or any of our message templates, we can make them a coordinator. This way they'll be able to speak with all the clients, but they can't change the settings. Power user, this is the admin staff, the management staff. This is someone who can do everything in Wired Client. And you may notice up here, so I have access to all these settings is because this particular account is a power user. Now, as far as the clients go, we'll take a look at the profile that I uploaded earlier. So here it is. And we can see a few things are carried over from Practice Perfect. We have things like the date of birth. We have the preferred language. Practice Perfect allows you to record the preferred language. So whether it's English, French, Spanish, we can have a corresponding version of that text message or that voice call go to that client automatically. We have another place for a second mobile number. At a lot of the pediatric clinics, we were asked if the reminders can not just be sent to mom, but we need the message to be sent to dad too. We need it to be sent to grandma as well. So we can have a second phone number recorded in their profile so that they receive a carbon copy of any automated messages. We have some of these key appointment dates as well. We have things like the start date. This is when they're created in Practice Perfect. The opted in date. This is when they're uploaded to Wired Client. We track things like their last cancellation, their last visit, their last no-show, their total number of visits. All of these are being updated automatically as we're making those changes in the Practice Perfect system. Like the pending appointments. So we can see it's looking at the date, it's looking at the time, which branch I'm scheduled at, who I'm scheduled with. Is this an in-clinic appointment? Is this a telehealth appointment? All of this information is going to be reflected in the message. If it is a telehealth appointment, we can include a meeting link automatically. So this is all feeding the system more information to better inform the messages in your schedule section. We'll take a look at this part now, and we'll start with the message templates. So all of the Wired Client accounts, they do come preloaded with a number of really generic templates. Some clinics opt to use them out of the box, but one of the best things about this system is they're completely customizable. So with something like our basic appointment reminder, you may see this blue text here. This is going to be populated with information from the client's profile. So this would say, "Hi, Matt, your next visit at the wired client is this date, this time, and with whom." We can change what this says here. Maybe you require 48 hours notice for cancellation. Not a problem. Maybe you don't want to include your cancellation policy at all. We can get rid of that. If we want to use some of these tokens, all we have to do is type a $sign. And that's going to bring up this list here. At a pediatric clinic, they might want to address the message to the guardian rather than the child. So we can have that name populated automatically. If I want to include a Spanish version of my template, a French version, we would include the corresponding template here. A couple other examples of messages that come preloaded. The fall off. This is really, really popular, especially amongst the physical therapy clinics. If there's an active client, if it's been a certain number of days since their last visit, if they haven't booked a future appointment, they can get this message automatically. And right now, what a lot of clinics are doing is they're running the patient fall off report in Practice Perfect, which looks at that same criteria, but then they have to print out a list and they have to call all those patients one by one. And oftentimes it ends up going to the bottom of the pile of things they have to do. But with this system here, it's going to look at that criteria again. Is it an active client? Has it been 14 days since their last visit? Is there no future appointment booked? It's going to send them a message automatically. Hey, it's been a couple weeks since we last saw you. Is everything good? Give us a call. We might want to send a survey after a certain number of visits. We might want to send a message towards the end of the year. I know in October, November, a lot of clinics like to send messages to say, "Hey, we know your coverage is going to expire. Use it or lose it. Give us a call to book." But we can use it for some fun things like birthday greetings as well. As you saw in the client profile, we are looking at the patient's date of birth, so we can trigger that message automatically on their birthday. If you want to see what a message looks like beforehand, we added this test feature. So we can see an example of what that message looks like before it actually starts going out the door. But as for the automation, all of that takes place in the events. And this is really like the brains behind the operation. With something like our basic reminder, it really comes down to the trigger type. This one is number of hours before the next appointment. The number of hours is 24. So if my appointment's at 1 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to get a text message at 1 o'clock today automatically. If you want to do a day of appointment reminder, maybe you want it to go 2 hours before the appointment, 3 hours before the appointment, you can make that distinction here. I mentioned the end of the year message, so we can actually choose which calendar day we want this message to be sent to our clients, and it's going to send every year on that day. The fall off, again, last visit date without rebook. The trigger days is 14. We can also do last cancel date without rebook, last no show without rebook. One of my personal favorites is prior to the first visit. So this is someone's very first time coming to the clinic. You can let them know 2 days beforehand. Show up for your appointment 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, fill out our paperwork. This will only go out for their initial eval. This isn't going to go out for their subsequent appointments.
And Matt, if I can just quickly interject, all of
Mhm.
these things can have links embedded in them as well, as far as I know. So, for example, if there is paperwork you want them to fill out, you can actually embed the paperwork link right in the message. For example, if a patient has fallen off, let's say a patient hasn't been in the clinic for, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you can actually put your client portal, if you're using the portal, client portal link right in the message as well. So you can say, "We haven't seen you for 2 weeks. Click here to rebook," or "Click here to phone the clinic." I just want to kind of throw that in, and I'll hand it back to Matt.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you can totally include URLs in any of the message templates, and just by virtue of them being customizable, you can absolutely add those. The last step here is a campaign, and this is essentially a group of messages. So I just have my standard campaign here. We can see I'm including a day of appointment reminder, my basic reminder, a discharge message, my end of year, my fall off, my no show. But we can always go back in here and add messages. We can remove messages. We can have different types of campaigns for different types of patients. Maybe one of my clients only wants to receive an appointment reminder. We can have a campaign called basic reminder or reminder only rather, and just have our basic reminder as part of that campaign. But this is all set up. This is stuff that we help you out with during the training. A lot of times a clinic is going to set up their campaign. They're just going to let it run on autopilot in the background. They don't have to play around with these settings. But the day-to-day use happens here in the messages screen. You can either log into the wired client to access this screen, or you can launch it from Practice Perfect, either by clicking the pending messages or just the gray message icon here. And I'm going to just respond to a message just so you can see what it looks like when a client texts us back. We'll see here. Uh, Matt Alexander and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. appear to share the same phone number. But right away, the name's going to pop up to the top of the list. We can click chat. We can see what the client has said, and we can go back and forth here, have ourselves a conversation. Again, you don't have to log into Wire Client to facilitate this. We can just go here into the pending messages, and it's going to take me to this list here of any unread messages. And I can always click reset and see my full client list. And oftentimes we'll see a clinic might have their email open in one tab, Wire Client open in another, and they're just using this to message their patients throughout the day. But that's it in a nutshell. We still have to look at faxing, so don't want to take too much time on this. But as a reminder, we are giving this away until January 1st. So if you did want to try it out, it's just a matter of getting a training session booked. It either be myself or my colleague Mary to walk you through the training session, and then go from there. But as far as faxing goes, we mentioned we have inbound and outbound faxing. So I will start by showing you the outbound. And that's really simple to set up too. Really, all we need is an email address. So you provide us with an email address. Anytime you send a fax, you get an email letting you know whether or not that fax was delivered successfully. This email gets entered on our fax server. It also gets entered into Practice Perfect. Anytime you send a fax, you create a cover page automatically. That cover page is going to have your company letterhead, similar to when you print a note or a report. You have your logo and all of your contact information there at the top of the document. It'll have that. It'll have a comment that you can enter at the time of sending the fax. And then it's also going to have this fax footer at the bottom of every cover page. So, please destroy this if you aren't the intended recipient, something to that effect. But that's pretty well it for setting up the outbound faxing. It's really just a matter of entering this email here. And now we can look at how we actually send a fax. And that's pretty straightforward too. So I'm going to go into my progress notes here. And I'm going to flag this progress note and click the printer icon. I want to go to the printer tab and choose Practice Perfect Fax. And that brings up this box here automatically. So this is where we're actually addressing our fax. So to start, I need to choose the recipient. So I've got a family physician in this profile. I've got an incident physician in this profile. If there's anyone saved in the contacts of this client's profile, as long as they have a fax number, they will show up here too as a recipient. If you need to send it to someone else, you can too. Just change their name here. Like that. And I'm going to send myself a fax. This is actually connected to one of our test databases, so I'll be able to show you what the inbound faxing looks like as well. Here's the fax comment. Um, this is this test. Ignore. We can also create a contact log entry at the time of sending the fax. Um, you're able to create all of these categories yourself. I'm going to choose the category fax. This is kind of neat because you can later run a contact log follow-up report. You can specify that category, and it's going to generate a nice list of everything that you've used this category for. If this is something time sensitive, if I need to know, by tomorrow, we can put a follow-up date in here. We can check off create reminder. And when this user logs into Practice Perfect on this date, there's going to be a nice pop-up reminding them about this. But that's pretty well it. I'm going to go ahead and click fax, and it is off to my other database. So I'll log into the other one in just a moment, and we'll take a look at what that inbound fax looks like. But essentially, we're going to get an email that lets us know whether or not this fax was delivered successfully. We can also include an image of the fax if you like, just so you know in the event that it fails exactly what it is you need to resend. But if I sign out here, I'm going to connect to this server. Oh, there we go. There's a notification about an inbound fax right there. So something like that will pop up. And we're able to see in the pending form section any incoming faxes that we've received. It doesn't look like this one has showed up just yet, but we'll give it a few minutes and we'll check back here and I'll show you what that looks like. I'll also show you what the email notification looks like. But yeah, for now we can jump into the Q&A section and then we'll circle back to this in a minute so we can see what that looks like. Let's see what kind of questions we got here.
So we've dealt with everything in the chat, I think.
Okay.
Nothing outstanding. If anyone's
Okay.
got any questions, anything at all, feel free to throw them into the chat. We can deal with them now. The faxing it can take about maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes sometimes to deliver a fax, depending how busy the faxing is. So hopefully we'll see it show up. On Matt's inbound there. But basically, what happens is the fax shows up. You get a notice. You can then take that fax, and hopefully Matt will be able to show this. You can take that fax and drag it into the activities by documents for that particular patient. So that's the question came up from Marianne. Does the inbound fax go directly to the patient file? It comes into this pending area. You look at it, then you have to say, yes, I want to bring this into the client. You pick the client or the patient, and it brings it right into the patient's record. We can we can't bring it right into the patient record directly because we don't know which patient it's for. So you basically look at it, say this is for John Doe, and it brings it right into John Doe's activities by document. Um, and a question from Mark: can I fax from the payer list? I don't, it depends. You're faxing a document. So it's wherever the document is, that's where you're faxing from. Like, for example, if you're faxing an eval or a note, it has to be done from the patient, but it can be done to the payer. So you can go into John Doe and say, I want to send this eval to John Doe's payer, and the fax number of the adjuster will also already be in file. So you're initiating it from the client, but you can send it to the payer. I hope that answered the question. Um, Another question from Jen. Will you be adding an option to send appointment reminders by text as a one-off, like what we can do with email reminders? Oh, so Matt, sort of a one-off. We just want to send one reminder out right from Practice Perfect without having to go through kind of set up a campaign. To be honest, first time we've heard that request, you can do a manual text to somebody, but right now there is no automation for sending just one out, just one on its own. And to be blunt, I don't think it's not on our list. We can certainly look at doing it, but there haven't been any requests for that, as far as I know, anyway.
Yeah. So if you did want to send a one-off reminder, um, simplest way to do it, you'd log into the Wire client, click message templates, send a test, choose who you want to send it to. So this is going to be a one-off reminder from here.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's not the simplest thing to do. I mean, you could also do it right from Practice Perfect with the message icon and do it from there as well. Just type it
Mhm.
manually. So right now, if you want to do just one, no easy way to do that, to be perfectly candid.
Just to circle back to the incoming fax. So I did get a reminder here. So we can see there's a new pending form for me. Okay. And if I go here, see towards the bottom. Okay, August 13th. So here's the fax. If I want to view it, I just click this guy here. And I'm not sure why that's not opening.
Maybe you sent something not maybe what you sent wasn't didn't have an attachment or something. Perhaps when you more than likely what you sent was empty.
Sounds about right. So I'm going to try to attach this to a client record now. So this is what it would look like to import it to a client. So we click this icon here. I choose who I want to assign it to, what kind of document it is, which provider it belongs to. We can put a description for it as well. And then we should be able to see it
Yeah,
here.
I bet it's empty. You can take a look. It's probably there, but it's probably take a look, see what it says. You, yeah, I suspect.
And it's empty.
Yeah, it was an empty document. Okay, so
That'll do
basically,
it.
yeah, basically what Matt was basically showing was that when you get these faxes in, you can view them on the screen and then decide what patient they need to be attached to.
Let's see if I can view one that isn't empty.
And Jen, following up to your comment about patients that book an appointment that sort of after the fact, yeah, we can put that on our list by all means, being able to just sort of send out one, sort of an icon just to send one out. Again, just to stress, it's an extra step, but Matt, can you go to clients for a moment, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
You can by clicking on the little, you pick a client by clicking on the little bubble icon. If you go into Jackie, maybe you can manually send it right now. It's an extra step. I mean, you can go in here and just type it right here. Reminder about your appointment tomorrow. So you can sort of if it's a last minute booking and you want to remind them they have an appointment in 2 hours, you can do it from here with a couple clicks, just not automated. So there is that option, but it is more of a manual function, obviously. Yes, email Heather piped in. You can do the email right away, but Jen's question was, can we do the same with text? So yes, you can do the email. Any other questions, comments, ideas? We're doing another lunch and learn in a couple of weeks. Matt will be sending that out. We have a newsletter going out in the next couple of weeks, I would imagine as well. So we love this engagement. So please let us know what we can be doing better. The client portal only integrates with Practice Perfect. It's our client portal. That was a question from Marianne. Okay, maybe we'll give it another minute, and nothing comes in. We'll wrap it up.
All right, sounds good. Yep. So tentative date for the lunch and learn is going to be August 28th. We're also looking at doing our first ever quarterly town hall in September. So information about that will be forthcoming. We'll be able to share some more details about that at the lunch and learn. But if any of these three features caught your interest today, be it the hosting, the faxing, wired client, feel free to reply to my email this afternoon with the recording, and we'll be happy to get you started on any of them. As far as the cost for faxing, Mark, there is a cost of 5 cents per page on the outbound faxing. With the inbound faxing, there's a one-time fee of $50 to port your number. There's $10 per month for hosting the number, and then it's 7 cents per page received. All of these fees are being waived for the remainder of the year. You wouldn't be billed until January 1st.
A couple other questions came in. We have a few clients who would like a digital calendar link. Yes, this is coming. So basically, when you book an appointment, it gives you that link that updates your Google Calendar, your Outlook. That is coming. What else do we have here? With Wire Client, I'm assuming the monthly charges per location. Yes, but there is a discount on subsequent locations. And again, there's no charge on any of this till January. And it includes That the monthly fee includes is up to 3,000 text message segments per location for texting, the emails, and the phone calls as well. So that's all part of it as well. Up to 3,000 per location. Then we do have an overage charge beyond that. But again, if there's interest in that, contact Matt. He can go through all that with you. But we do include 3,000 per site, which generally is enough. We do have a number of people that go over when they're doing broadcast messages and promotions and things like that. But for your average usage, 3,000 is totally fine. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time. And yeah, be on the lookout for our email. We're looking forward to connecting.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody, and have a good rest of your summer.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.